Hey guys, you'll remember in the last episode we finished off building the Cyclops, and I know you're all excited to see how it turned out. And in this episode, we're going to be taking it out on its maiden voyage and putting her through her paces, so come along for the ride. But if you've been following this and you've really enjoyed it, please do show me some love and hit that like button. So get ready to dive in, because this is Parkinwad Plays Subnautica.
Welcome aboard, Captain. All systems online.
Okay, so I'm just going to kind of give you a really quick tour of the Cyclops here. This is your onboard storage area, and we're just passing through the underbelly of it right now. We just passed the pond/Seamoth loading and launch bay, and this is the engine room at the rear of the sub. You've got a quick access upgrade panel there, your power cells, a fire extinguisher, decoy tube loading bays, more power cells. Any upgrades you want to do for it, you will build in this fabricator, and we'll definitely go further into available upgrades for the Cyclops in a later video. Okay, now we're heading forward to the launch bay for the Seamoth and/or Prawn, whatever you have docked in there. There's a customization panel for it when it's docked. This is kind of a utility room, and then we have the bridge where you control most of the systems of the Cyclops from. A bit of lighting control here, interior and exterior. It turns on the exterior floodlights, and that's the interior lights. And then here's your Cyclops modification station. What is really nice about it is already built into the sub. You don't have to dock it to anything or build a special station. It already comes with the sub. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I want you guys to name this sub, okay? So put down in the comments below what you want the name of this Cyclops to be. In the meantime, I am gonna call it the Discovery, because we're gonna discover some awesome new locations with it. And we're gonna tweak the colors. I'll do my channel colors, the bright green and purple. We'll kind of keep a little bit of a theme going here. Okay, so you guys are obviously all here now for one thing. This thing has to be taken on its maiden voyage and put through its paces. So we're gonna grab hold of that steering wheel, fire this thing up. Just on the, as you can see there on the top left corner is the engine startup sequence. And yeah, there's some other neat features on this thing. Rig for silent running is pretty cool.
Rig for silent run.
I'll go a little bit further into that later on in this episode. And then we've got cameras just above that little icon. And there's 3 external cameras. I like the down camera because most of the time anything you're going to hit is below you, it's underneath you. So I very often will actually operate this from this camera view. Unless I'm just running the surface, in which case I actually enjoy the cockpit view. But we're going to park this beast over by the moon pool. And then we'll be doing some exploring with it. So if we're going to take the Cyclops out on a proper exploration, it's going to need to be outfitted, and there's a few things you can do with it to make exploration easier and be able to spend more time out in the water with it. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm doing a bit of resource gathering again, out of titanium pretty much, so we're going to gather a little bit of that stuff up so that we have a much easier time when we're building. We can just build, we don't have to worry about going back and forth. And I needed a door here, so it was driving me nuts always having to go out the front or out the moon pool, so.
Welcome aboard, Captain. All systems online.
So one of the first things you'll notice on this sub is obviously space is at a premium as it is on most vehicles. So we have to be very careful with where we place things. And I opted to do the indoor grow bed at first, but I quickly decided, you know what, it takes up too much space, it hangs out into the walkway, I don't like it, and I ripped it out and I'm gonna put these plant pots as well. It'll be more costly per plant. I can put more plants and it costs me less resources if I use an indoor planter, but they definitely take up way too much space. And like I say, in this sub, I need every square inch I can get. So I can get one plant in a much smaller space by simply using the planter pots. And yes, you can grow your own food on the Cyclops. So you'll see me having done that in the base already. And I didn't really talk much about it, but yes, you can do your own growing. So definitely put some food in the Cyclops. When you're out on a long haul, a long exploration journey, and you may not quite have enough food with you, it's really handy to have it growing and replenishing itself.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
And I really gotta tell you, this right here is one of my favorite features of the Cyclops. Aside from the fact that it can be a mobile base, being able to dock vehicles in it was one of the coolest ideas that Unknown Worlds probably had when they came up with this. Oh, and I almost forgot, we picked this up in the Aurora, in the engine room, and the Cyclops engine efficiency module. What that does is boosts our engine efficiency by cooling it off, essentially, is what they explain it as. But it increases our engine efficiency by 300%, so it uses only 1/3 now of the amount of power when we're driving as it used to. So it'll help those power cells to last quite a bit longer.
Engine powering down.
systems online.
Captain, all systems online. Engine powering up.
Okay, so about that silent running feature. This should be used in areas where there are plenty of large enemies, particularly the Leviathan class. Reapers, Ghost Leviathans, and other large predators will attack the Cyclops if they hear it operating in the area. So how do you avoid losing your precious Cyclops? Well, there are several things you can do. First of all, don't operate in a head flank mode when you are in dangerous waters. Also, a head flank will burn up your sub, it will start fires if you are operating at a head flank for 20 seconds or longer. This mode also produces the greatest amount of noise and is sure to grab the attention of every predator in earshot. So what is best? Well, particularly running on the slowest setting produces the least amount of noise and is also the most efficient way to operate the sub, meaning your batteries will last the longest for the amount of distance you get out of them. Another option to mitigate noise around predators is to operate in silent running mode. This reduces noise output by 50% on all settings, but uses 5 power every 5 seconds while this mode is active. This also includes while sitting still. But disabling the engine, or not moving with silent running active, will eliminate any noise output from the Cyclops. But again, silent running mode will use 5 power every 5 seconds, whether you move or not, and whether the engine is on or off. So use this mode wisely. Also, silent running mode turns off exterior lighting and changes your internal lighting to a prototypical red color. Okay, so the biome we're in right now is called the Grand Reef, and it's one of 2 places that these creatures can be found. They're called the Sea Treader, and they are a Leviathan class creature, but they are non-predatory. Unless you go near them, and then they might become a defensive predatory, but that's about it. They don't attack you for no reason. If you're behind them, they typically will not bother you at all. If you do swim in front of them, they do travel in herds, and they typically have their infants with them. So if you do travel in front of them, they will defend their young by hitting you with that first leg / mouth thing. But yeah, they don't actively and aggressively chase the Cyclops or sea moth or anything like that typically. So, and they do drop feces behind them that you can use in your bioreactor. I'm not sure how efficient it is, or if it's one of the most efficient ways to power the bioreactor, but I'm assuming it is a fantastic way to do it, and would highly recommend if you build a base down in the Grand Reef. It is a very beautiful area down here. I would definitely say use the feces to power your bioreactor. Okay, so we've come across this fairly large wreck here, and we're gonna go dive it. There's lots of things to scan in it, and you can enter it as well. So I'll show you where that is about halfway through our dive here.
New blueprint acquired.
You definitely do have to be careful in this area as well because there are warpers, and that one literally warped right on top of me there, so I had to get out of there in a fairly big hurry. But just keep swimming, don't sit still. Always try to swim diagonals to them because they do shoot at you, and if you're directly in line with them, they can hit you and warp you right back to them. But in this case, it's just a matter of avoidance. Don't harass them too much. So at this point, I realize I am getting dangerously low on water, and my plants haven't grown yet, so I don't have a food or water source on board the Cyclops yet. So it's time to head back. I have to head to the surface, and you'll see I hit about 250 meters, about 50 meters above my safe sea moth depth of 300. Jump in the sea moth because it is much faster than the Cyclops, and I just leave the Cyclops there and I jet back towards base.
All systems online. Intake recommended.
Now I, as most of you probably are, am a bit of a sucker for loot, so I see the ruby there, and I dive out to grab it, not realizing that there are actually thermal vents in the area. So that right there on the left is a thermal vent, there's two straight ahead. Same deal, they're thermal vents. Actually a pretty good place to build a base if you can get your thermal reactors close enough. It's actually a great place to build a base.
Seek fluid intake.
Now you can see I'm starting to take damage. We're getting to the point that I'm out of water. I'm dehydrated completely. So now I'm taking damage as I'm swimming back. And you can see it does take a fair bit of health down. I gotta be really careful. No more stops on the way back. And I'm running this really tight now. I'm down to 25% health. I get hit again, and I'm down to 10% health, and I can't run. I can barely walk. So I have to pop a first aid kit just to be able to sprint a little bit. And you can see it brings me up a little bit to speed, but I'm nowhere near full speed, just because I am so dehydrated. So we race as quickly as we can, get to that locker, and get a water in us as quickly as we
Vital
can.
signs stabilizing. Emergency. Starvation imminent. Seek calorie intake immediately. Vital signs stabilizing. Welcome aboard. All systems online.
And we're off again, heading back to the Discovery. We have to finish diving that wreck. We got a little bit interrupted in the middle of it because I ran out of water. So we're gonna head on back and do a proper finish and sweep of this large wreck. Our plants are finally full grown, so that's awesome. We've got lantern fruit that we can pick up on board, so that is absolutely awesome. And we descend back into the depths.
Seconds. Blueprint acquired. 30 seconds.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
Thirty seconds.
Engine powering up.
Warning, entering ecological dead zone. Adding report to databank.
Curious to know how it all ends? Join me in the next episode of Parkinwad Plays Subnautica. If you enjoyed that, like, subscribe, you guys know what to do. See you next time.